I believe they call it a circle jerk.
They call it a circle jerk.
Have you heard about that?
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
Daniel Edward Knowlton. Why should anchors stick around for this episode?
My middle name isn't even Edward.
Yeah, sure. I don't want people to know. All right.
So, weird intro, but we'll go with it. Why should people stick around? We've spoken about this before, but we like to kind of test the podcast topic waters on other platforms like LinkedIn, our newsletter, and other social platforms. And there's one content format that people always respond really well to, and that is when we talk about current marketing campaigns, things that are happening in the marketing
real things
ether.
that are actually happening in the world.
Yeah.
These marketing campaigns that have, I suppose, maybe been hugely successful, or maybe not so much.
Yeah. And I think in this episode, we're going to talk about some of those and give our 2 cents Gary V style and share what we think about them. And
Great. And your input will be really interesting. And then I'll give my input.
Yeah, that's how
And
it'll work.
They'll kind of go like that. As you said, I say we or you. There's a bit of an argument within our business. You know, who is the person responsible for Dan's success? Is it we? Is it our team? Or is it just Dan?
No,
The outside world always say, well done,
that's
Dan.
why I say we.
Sorry, we. Yeah. So
I can't take the credit.
We, our team and Dan, have been testing this kind of content, as you said, on social, and gets really good response and lots of people interested, making good comments. So hopefully it'll make a really good podcast episode as well.
And I've got a really good one to start. Did you see Specsavers' viral van accident?
Did I see it? No, I didn't. I should have gone to Specsavers.
Hey.
Hey.
Did you actually see it though? Or not?
Yes.
So they basically had a van in Edinburgh, and you know those like automatic bollard things. Have you ever seen a car actually get done by one of those?
Get
No,
done.
you know, like it kind of.
Yeah, up its bum.
Yeah. Have you
No.
ever-
Have you then?
No.
You said
other than
you
this.
said that as if you
No,
had
no,
this
because
great
I thought
experience.
surely it does happen where people are driving through and they automatically.
Yeah. I guess so.
But this Specsavers sort of activation, they basically had a van that said should have gone to Specsavers on it that had been automatically bollarded up the rear end,
up the engine.
and and it was like a clever stunt because
Was it definitely an organised thing? It was
Yeah.
a marketing
Yeah.
stunt. It wasn't an actual.
But I think
thing
this is
that
why it was really clever because it worked so well because it wasn't 100% clear whether it was an accident or an actual stunt. They just got loads of free exposure because every person and their nan that walked past just took a photo of it and posted it on social media. Said, "Oh, look what's happened to this guy."
I suppose also, even if you're not aware if it's a marketing stunt or not, then there's that conversation that happens online and in people's living rooms. So I'm going, oh no, I reckon it's set up, and then someone's going, no, I think it's real.
Yeah.
You're still getting that attention in those conversations.
Yeah. So there's a few levels of conversations. There's the random people that aren't in the marketing-y world that just walk past and go like, "Oh, what's going on here?" and sort of post it on their stories.
Yeah.
Then there's the next level of like the sort of marketing LinkedIn commenters on campaigns like me and us.
I believe they call it a circle jerk.
They call it a circle
Have you
jerk,
heard
yeah.
about that?
It's funny whenever we
Marketing.
whenever we post about these kind of campaigns, some of the like shitty comments we get are other marketers saying like, "Oh, this campaign's just made for marketers. No one actually cares about." And I guess, there is an element of that. You know, we're in our kind of bubble of and people really analyze things, and you think other normal people don't do that.
That would be my big question. Would be that it's got loads of attention. So a Specsavers van has got loads of attention. I suppose my question would be, how much is that attention worth? I think from a brand perspective, it's like more eyes on the Specsavers logo and more people saying Specsavers, and there's some kind of value to that if you do that millions of times, obviously this is basically what marketing is, millions of times, people will be more likely to Google Specsavers if they want some glasses or know about Specsavers. But because I suppose beyond that, it's probably a bit of a negative perception rather than anything positive. It's not like, oh, did you see that thing? And now I know that Specsavers are a good business. Or like, it's like, oh, did you see that thing where they crashed the van?
I also think so. So to play devil's advocate here, I think with a company that does eye tests and sells glasses, I don't think there's really a huge amount you can do to differentiate. Yeah. I think it's very much people's decisions are made based on convenience and what they're thinking of at the time. Like I really wouldn't give a shit if I need an eye test, if I was to go to Vision Express or Specsavers.
I feel the same. There's no like
neither of them look better, but because I've probably been thinking a lot about Specsavers recently because of their viral stunts.
It might be your first Google when you try and get an eye test.
I genuinely think it probably would be.
Also, we're analysing like one thing that they've done. This is a brand awareness piece, so it's get our brand in front of people. They've got a marketing team. I'm sure they're doing loads of things, consideration style content, getting people through the marketing funnel. Yeah. They'll be targeting people saying, we've got this really good value eye test, like the boring stuff. Yeah. You don't need to do it all in one go, do you? They don't need a sign on. If they put a sign that was like an ad saying, our eye tests are better value than Vision Express, people will be like, well, that's an advert.
Yeah.
So I don't give a shit about it.
I think it's, like you say, it's all in the context of what the objective is here. The objective of this kind of campaign is to just get people thinking of Specsavers and hitting that brand message home that they've been hitting home for like 20 years should have gone to Specsavers. I think that's the clever thing here. Yeah. They haven't just made you think of Specsavers. The key message on the van was should have gone to Specsavers, which is actually a kind of sales message. Because you're thinking, should I go Vision Express? Should I go, should have gone to Specsavers. Oh, you probably should go then.
Is it only me that thinks about the logistics of my brain? I was trying to work out, does everyone think like this, or is this just my brain?
No, I think
I immediately saw that photo and my brain went, I wonder if that's a real Specsavers van. I wonder if they damaged the van putting it on the bollard.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to have to, did they have to pay the council a deposit? Say if we break the bollard, we'll give you this.
This is why it's not fun to go out with Lloyd sometimes, because you're literally going out for like a lunch or a beer or something, and he'll be questioning like, how many tables do you think they serve a day, and what revenue do you reckon that makes?
It's like, my brain works. I immediately thought about it, and I did Google it to see its MOT history. It failed at MOT, that van, in December 2023, but then they what did they do? The offside rear stop lamp and supplementary restraint system warning lamp. They fixed that, and then they passed.
Right.
MOT. I was just thinking I suppose this is because of the business we're in. I was thinking, so if we're doing this for Specsavers, do we buy a white van and or do they have an old van? Anyway, this is not interesting to anyone else other than my brain. But just so you know, guys, it did pass its MOT after it had those
logically, you'd buy a crappy van that's low cost. I just think
someone's driving that van around now, knowing that it's been in a viral marketing stunt.
There you go.
Yeah, interesting.
Nice.
To me, no one else.
So that's one. Yeah, that's definitely a big one that lots of people have been speaking about in the kind of marketing business world. But there's a second one which I think is actually even better. It's slightly less like interesting, but there's a whole range of things that happened around this, and it's to do with British Airways. So British.
Sorry. Did you just start off this segment by saying it's slightly less interesting?
No. I guess it's slightly less out there, but there's lots of things around it that we can talk about that are interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not a van isn't on a bollard. It's just an out-of-home ad.
Yeah.
So it's like a billboard.
Yeah.
But they've caused a real stir with this kind of series of out-of-home billboards and a TV ad they did, because it's a bit cheeky.
Oh.
It's a bit cheeky.
Looking forward to hearing about it.
The reason it's a bit cheeky is because they basically did this really simple ad where they've got a hugely zoomed in photo of like the window of a BA plane, and it's got like a child looking out the window, sort of gazing out the window. And the cheeky bit is that it's so zoomed in that you only see like the top left corner of the British Airways logo.
You know when you see the top left of things, it's cheeky.
Exactly. The cheeky thing is that they're so confident that people will just recognise that. And it isn't a lot of.
I was trying to work out what's cheeky. Okay.
No, that's the cheeky bit. They're like
we know that you'll recognise us, even though we don't even put the full logo in.
And to be fair, I obviously posted about this, and I only probably got a couple of comments from hundreds of people saying I didn't recognise what that was, but like it is quite recognisable. The British
Yeah, you
Airways
can
on a
tell
white
the
plane.
brand's very strong. Straight away, like you see the top of some letters and like the shape of letters, and you know straight away.
Yeah. So what I found really interesting about it was that kind of almost like cockiness of we don't even need, like most people want to just plaster their logo on adverts and on content. They were just like, yeah, we don't, and it got people talking. We're talking about it now.
Yeah,
loads of people on social are talking about it.
Do you think there's any like I think for British Airways, I think this seems successful and just shows that they're just doing a bit of, is it peacocking, where they're just like our brand's well good, just showing off.
Yeah.
Strengthening the brand even more.
Yes,
they're doing that.
yeah.
But is there any benefit? Like, could this work for anything other than like the strongest brands in the world?
That's a good question.
Is there an equivalent for like a challenger brand or a lesser known brand, or is this really just for the big boys to be able to do this kind of thing?
I think it's a lot of it's for the big boys, because you need big budgets for this kind of stuff to get it to enough people and to take that much risk. Like, imagine us, a small marketing agency in Thanet, like doing these huge things where it's like the corner of our logo or like no.
Obviously, if you know us, you know us. But if you don't, like, just most people will be like,
most people don't know us.
That's just some letters that I don't understand.
Yeah. Whereas they can do it. So yeah, I do think it's mainly for the bigger brands.
I did think I saw a post about this because, like you said, like we were saying before, all the marketers see this sort of thing and all like, oh, this is so good, or oh, this is bad. But I thought Ian Irving had an interesting comment.
Oh, go on.
So Ian says, oh, seriously, shut up, everybody. Look at what you're dribbling over. It's the biggest wankfest by any brand ever. Have any of you actually travelled with British Airways through any airport to anywhere? They're an utter shit show. The best campaign ever for this brand would be so different if it encapsulated a feeling. That feeling of, fuck me, please, can I just go on holiday? Too many ad and creative agency twats whacking off about this bullshit. Get in the fucking sea.
I mean,
Ian felt strongly.
Ian has nailed this, what we're doing right now. This is very meta.
Yeah.
So we're
like, oh yeah, it's good. And Ian's there going,
people like us talking about it.
You're a twat. I suppose that's something we've got to try and differentiate. Like, which of these are, because we're in marketing and marketers listening, or people in business that might be in a marketing department or working with a marketing department or a marketing agency, which is like, oh, that's clever. And which of these are actually like, this is something of value that we should really look up to and try and emulate within our own businesses. I think we do have to be careful because
we are in our own marketing bubble, and I reckon a lot of the anchors are probably in a similar-ish, whether it's marketing or business bubble, that most members of the public aren't in. Like, I'm trying to think, what would a standard member of the public that is nothing to do with marketing or as it branding or anything, would they see that and think?
We're analysing it and we're going, oh yeah, so it strengthens the brand because, you see that, oh, you only need that to recognise it and all this type of thing. But a person that's not in marketing, doesn't have a businessy head or anything like that, is it actually having an effect on them going, oh, British Airways? Or is it actually just the marketing department or agency go, this is so clever, but it's actually not great for the brand?
If you're on a motorway or something, just flying by and you glance at a billboard that's a quarter of the logo, and I don't know, because I did see some like marketers doing that thing of commenting on this, talking in detail about how the look on the child's face was evoking emotion of like, I'm looking forward to it, and like really going into it. I was like, it's just a little kid in a window with a quarter of a logo. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's a difficult one, but I think it's clever overall. What I thought was even better than this, which I literally saw this morning. Did you see the spec ad that a guy called, I think it was Tom, made an EasyJet ad next to it?
I think I did see that, but remind me. Yeah.
Basically, this is again
obviously memorable.
We have to be careful here because this is a spec ad. They didn't actually make it themselves. It was obviously next to that ad of the zoomed in plane with the quarter of the logo. It was like an orange billboard that just had the EasyJet logo on the font. It said, in the same font, it said, same view, half the price. So it's like really clever because...
but then, that's clever to marketers that have been analysing it. If you want to sell to marketers that have been analysing this advert, like, you're going even deeper into it now, aren't you? No, like, someone has now got to have seen that British Airways billboard and understand it and be like, oh, that's clever, and then see EasyJet. But if you want marketers to book flights, good ad.
Well, I mean, also we made our own version of this that was even better than anything anyone's ever seen.
Yeah, better than anything in the world.
We photoshopped a photo of Lloyd and I in the window rather than the child, and with the same font that British Airways logo half cut off, it said wankers.
Yeah.
And that was our version and did quite well on social.
And you knew that it was that word because you saw me and Dan.
Exactly. And you thought,
wankers.
That is them.
Yeah. Self-deprecating.
Yeah. So it was another interesting one.
The next one you're going to talk about, Dan, I think there's a lot more we can learn from this as businesses without an incredibly strong world-leading brand, just so you know.
Okay.
I think I've got a few more points that I think you can learn from it. So you don't just have to be one of those big boys. But do you want to tell us about this one?
So the next one's slightly different. David Beckham is the new face or hand of Stella Artois. And they did this campaign where they had David Beckham, had this big out-of-home sort of campaign again. And the thing everyone was talking about was they didn't actually, they've paid David Beckham to be their, one of the biggest celebrities in the world. I wonder how much they paid him. Tens of millions?
Absolutely no idea.
Absolutely no idea, but shitloads of money. And they did this big campaign, and in a lot of the campaign, they just showed his hand holding the beer. And obviously he's got some tattoos on his hands and stuff, and he's quite recognisable. But that's what got everyone talking. Again, it's the cheekiness of, they are so confident that people recognise him and the association with the product that they just paid him to mainly use his hand holding the beer. Yeah.
I think, interestingly, I was trying to think it's good for the David Beckham brand. It's almost like the British Airways thing. You can recognise him from just a part of him.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting, I think brands like Stella Artois, they can only do this kind of thing. Because you think you're paying David Beckham, you've got to get the value. You can't just use his hand.
Yeah.
But they can only do this because they've got an amazing product that people have enjoyed over years and years, and they've made sure that the product they're selling is consistent and high quality. I think that's something we can look at here. It's like, how have these brands got to the point that they can do this kind of thing and be like, we're paying for David Beckham, but not even using his face. It's actually outside of marketing. They have a product that millions of people love and enjoy, and they've made sure they keep that high quality product for decades now.
I think trying to think of the anchors, because I think a lot of, like you really pointed out something good a minute ago. All of these things we're talking about are like, you've got to be a massive brand, have huge budget, be recognised for the last 30 years. How is this useful to people that aren't doing that? I think there's a secret hack that any company with a tiny budget could have a similar impact learning from this. Okay. I've just thought of it.
Have you thought of it because you've looked at my notes?
No, I haven't actually. Are you going to say that? I genuinely haven't read your notes.
Go ahead, let's see.
Oh, no, are you going to... Sorry, have I stolen it?
No, go for it.
Oh, no.
Let's see.
Is it to fake out of home?
No.
Oh, okay, good. So it's a different point. You're killing my point, Lloyd. So I think small brands can learn from this by creating their own fake out-of-home ads, emulating this. And we've seen people like... Surreal do this really well, where they come up with a really creative out-of-home ad and like obviously Photoshop it and learn lessons from these bigger campaigns and do their own version. And then it gets huge virality online. It's not even actually a billboard anywhere. It's a fake billboard. I just think smaller brands could be doing that.
I think that this fake out-of-home thing is working now, but I personally think it's a bit of a fad. I think it's a bit of a tactic that will work for a couple of months because everyone's doing it now.
Well, are they though?
You used to.
We're in this bubble, Lloyd.
But you used to look at, if there's something online showing a billboard, you used to look at it and think that is a billboard in the real world. And now I think that is.
Yeah, but that's because you're a marketer and a business.
Yeah, but
you're in this world.
People aren't stupid. They'll get it in the end as well. But I've got some more stuff.
Go on.
I think it's the creativity using creativity to get attention for a lower price than it normally is, basically. So I actually think, David Beckham, they've used his hand. Now, I wasn't in the room negotiating and stuff, but I would assume they've paid David Beckham less for all this hand stuff than they would if it was like a full body with his top off and his face and everything. And because I just think for the stuff I've seen, they could have got David Beckham in for 20 minutes into a studio.
Yeah,
hold that like that. We'll give you a quick manicure. Hold that like that. And you're going to get better value than, you know, you need to be here all this time. You need to make sure we've got to have all these different people making sure his clothes are perfect and his makeup and everything. So they're going to have paid less for that. And
so they're getting better value for money.
They're getting better value for the attention. And I think we can all do this, whatever the size of your business is. So, one thing. So you mentioned Surreal, like they had that campaign where they used celebrities' names. So they got the credibility and attention of on a billboard. It's Serena Williams loves this. Loves Surreal, and they found a random person in the UK called Serena Williams, and then in small things like not that one. So they've got the attention that Serena Williams' names gets, but they're not paying her anything. So they've been creative to get that attention at a crazily discounted price.
Clever.
Other one, I think something that small businesses can do, and you know we do this a lot in the agency world. Like when we have clients that have a bigger brand than the Knowlton brand, we use our clients' logos as much as we possibly can, if we're allowed to, in areas of our marketing. You know, on our website, on pitch decks that we're trying to win new business. Yeah, it's like if you're working with, you know, we've worked with the BBC, we're obviously going to try and piggyback on some of that credibility rather than just relying on the strength of our own brand.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, if you're a smaller business, piggybacking off of that credibility of clients you've worked with that are credible. Yeah. And I think also, I guess people might be thinking, well, I haven't worked with the BBC, I haven't got world-leading clients, what do I do? And we've spoken about this before. The way we did it was through stepping stone clients. Yeah. You gradually work with bigger, better brands started with the local council. Yeah. Then it was Eurotunnel.
This is obviously a B2B example, but at some point you'll work with a brand who is bigger than your own brand. Yeah. And usually that comes quite early if you're starting a business and if you're small. Yeah. You know, you'll work with the local hotel and in your area that's well known and your agency isn't well known yet. So, you know, it can happen quite quickly.
From thinking of it from a B2C perspective, you could have a whole campaign where you focus on getting really high reviews on like Trustpilot. And although you might only have 1,000 reviews, they could be really high. And you could have a campaign where it's like, we're better reviewed than our reviews are better than, and then piggyback off the biggest, the Nike.
Well, there's lots of like legal things you need to be careful of and wording, and it matters more when you're a bigger business because it will get noticed more. You can get away with more when you're smaller. But there's other things creatively. I was trying to think of things we've done over the years to work with this, get that attention at a discounted rate. We've used voiceover artists that sound like very famous people. So we, for a client years ago, worked on a video with a very David Attenborough sounding voiceover. Yeah, we can't use David Attenborough's name. We can't say this is David Attenborough, but you can have a very recognizable voice that's almost the same and pay, less than 1% of what you would pay David Attenborough for a voiceover, probably less than 0.01%. There's even controversial, but now there are AI voiceover tools and you can emulate celebrities' voices.
Is that legal?
There's lots of grey areas now, obviously, with AI, but from what I've looked at, there's nothing. As long as if you have a voiceover and say, "Here's Elon Musk saying to buy from us," you can't do that. Yeah. You're using Elon Musk's name, and you're also lying. You're saying, But if you just use a voice that sounds like someone and don't mention them at all.
I don't know, you've got to be a bit careful,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, there's, if you want to get this discounted attention, you've got to use these creative hacks.
I think this is a good point,
And the other thing is like another example of this, was it Dash Drinks? There was a couple of times things going on, Prince Harry and Boris Johnson, like they knew where there was going to be BBC and ITV and Channel 4 news cameras, and they just got there in London holding a sign with witty stuff. They're like, how can I, if you can't afford to get UK-wide coverage on the top TV channels, well, how else can I do that? I can stand behind a news reader and it's free.
I think anchors are going to be listening to this because I think this is really good. Thinking, how do you come up with those ideas? How do you do the dash this?
Not dash this.
Not dash this. Dash drink. Sorry.
Yeah.
Dash this is software we use for reporting. How do you do that kind of thing? And I think you need to have the time to be able to come up with the ideas and the kind of framework of coming up with those sort of ideas. Like what things should you be looking out for? Things trending in the news, you know.
Yeah. Look at what gets attention. What gets attention every single day? It's like, is there anything here we can piggyback on that attention? Yeah. Anything we can grab onto and try and get a portion of that? And obviously people, you know, it's done in marketing daily with trends, you know, on social media platforms. Brands now, it's like, oh, there's a trend with this happening. And it's like, oh, cool. I can get 5 times the attention I normally get for this effort if I tap into this trend. So it's not anything new, but it's something that you can be really clever with. And if you do it in a way, you know, like Surreal or Dash have done, it's like a multiplier of like 1,000 of the attention that you would get.
We also did it. Just thinking now, you're making me think, Lloyd.
Good.
We did it with our.
Do that more.
We've done it with some of our parody videos that have been some of our top performing videos on social, like our Dragon's Den parody we did, where we. Lloyd produced a really creative script and our team helped shoot this video where we were pretending to pitch the dragons. It was very witty and fun, but we were obviously piggybacking off of the attention of that show.
There's also things you have to be careful with parody, and there's very specific amounts of footage you can use to parody all this sort of thing. But yeah, you're right. We've done exactly that. It's trying to find who or what is getting more attention and how can we put ourselves into that story and try and build on that creatively.
Interesting. I saw that you, now I am looking at your notes, wrote something about Sora.
Yes. Have you heard of Sora?
Is Sora the video ChatGPT thing?
Yes. So OpenAI, who make ChatGPT, there's Sora, their kind of video creation platform.
Is that available to everyone? Like, no, because I've seen videos, but no.
So this is what I think is really clever. So it's like, who do you need to get this in front of?
Yeah.
You need to get this in front of people that are going to be interested in making videos and that kind of thing. And what Sora, I think it's really clever. They haven't paid any in marketing and that kind of, I don't think anything to do with OpenAI does any marketing, but they have just given the Sora tool in its kind of like beta phase to really cool creators and creative people and allowed them to create things with it, and then have just put that out to the world. Yeah. And so without having to do anything, they've just got this amazing stuff. Like, by the way, this is what it can do. Now, again, it's like a bit like Stella. It's the quality of the product that's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
A lot of the legwork, yeah.
Because if they went, look at what this person's created,
it's like a little
and it's just so rubbish, you're like, oh, well, I'm not interested in that. But yeah, they've kind of got people to do kind of short films or almost like ads for things that don't exist, but to play with the creativity. And I think they did just give it to people and said, do what you can. They probably got 200 back and have thought, right, let's use 8 of these to put out into the world.
Do you think they're all creative with that? You know, the other day you shared a Joe Lycett video with me where he was like, this is created on Sora.
Yeah.
Was he basically taking the piss saying that these videos, they're not actually created with AI, they're like actual videos and people are just saying...
No, I think he was just taking the mick out of the fact it's not perfect now. So like, because still, even in the position it's in, which is why it isn't widely available, you see some, like a couple of
just a random
shots and you're like, that looks so good, but then there'll just be a guy and his arm will just like go 90 degrees that way. You know what I mean? So it's still at that point where you can see like, oh, that person's just got an extra foot, or there are elements like that. So obviously it's not like, but it is the quality that it's at, and I think the pace of how it's improving, I do think it is going to completely change the industry that we're in.
Do you think like it's going to get to a point? So we obviously, part of what we do is produce videos for clients. Do you think there's going to get to a point where you just type a prompt and it will make the ads we're making now, and the videos we're making now, it will just make those? Yeah. How long do you reckon until we get there?
10 years.
Okay.
Because I think already, so what they've done is they have typed prompts for each shot and then put those together, and it's made. And already what it's made. So one of them, a really good one, have a look on, I don't know what the website is, but Google Sora. It's this thing about someone with a balloon as a head. It's called Airhead or something. And it's just like a nice creative advert walking around, and it's like risky because he's going to burst. But like the budget that it would take to use CGI or to develop the costume that you need to be able to look like it's someone's head and stuff would be crazy. So not only is it doing things very well, but it's opening doors that you potentially with your budget can't afford to do. And I anticipate, like, don't get me wrong, by the way, I think there's loads of negatives to this, like within the industry of
taking our jobs,
producing video. Yeah, there's that whole thing of it's going to change so massively that a lot of people are going to lose out if you don't keep up.
Yeah.
But I think the skills that are needed to produce something brilliant and creative, there's massive crossover. So you still, if someone just types in, make a really good advert for Stella, it's going to be crap. But if you have...
I think you're right.
You know, we have our team creating storyboards and using creativity to make sure that they plan ads that work brilliantly for our clients. And it's going to be the same. So at first, I predict there's going to be certain shots that people don't have the budget for. You know, you might need 10 shots for this quick 20-second ad. And maybe 8 of those you go out and shoot, and then you feed them into something, and you create a shot where this is happening, and you'll use those 2 shots within it. And then I think eventually it's going to get to the point where nothing is really shot.
I think there's a pecking order of who's in trouble here. So I think that...
Who are you pecking first?
The people that I'm pecking first, or Sora's pecking first, are people that produce very generic video content, like a generic talking head video or generic talking head training videos. It's even happening already. It just made me think that synthesia, where you write a script and it looks like a human being is teaching you stuff.
I suppose it's the thing with the least creativity.
Yeah.
If it's just a talking head, I'm delivering some training to you and we don't need this to look in a certain way, that's already starting to happen.
Whereas what gives me a bit more confidence in us and our company, our team, we really focus on that creative angle of making things witty, making things emotive, really trying to think and understanding who it is we're trying to convince to do something, and having really clever niche references to things that they will... I think we're a bit off from... Well, I don't know, maybe you can eventually write a prompt where it's like, we're targeting 20-year-old women, we want to relate to them.
I don't think there's any maybe about it. I just think it's when. The weird thing is with technology like this, I was listening to a podcast recently, everything with like the internet and with cryptocurrency and with VR and AR, like there tends to be this speediness. You get to a point and everyone gets excited, which I think, or like thinks, oh wow, this is something big, and we're at that with AI at the moment. But then progress tends to actually be a bit slower than people anticipate to get to that end point that like people in crypto are like, at first they were like, oh, in 20 years everyone will be using Bitcoin as the global currency, and it's like we're nowhere near that. Don't get me wrong, it's worth loads more, there's a lot more people talking about it, it's known by a lot more people, but we're way off that. So I think who knows timescales, but I do think we should all be, if you're in video production, in marketing.
What should we be doing, Lloyd? What should anchors be doing to prepare for this?
I personally think making sure you're like ahead of the curve with all of this stuff. Like you should be looking at Sora and developing your own skills. When it comes out, you should be making sure you're the expert in how to get that and understand.
Clicking subscribe.
On the Business Anchors. Yeah, you should be going to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and making sure you're listening to this so you know what to do.
Yeah. And every other episode.
Yeah, we've probably spoken about AI a bit too much. That was interesting. Went off on a tangent, but I think, they've just been really... I think they're really clever. Yeah. It's like the product's so good, just give it to creative people and show what can be done.
Interesting.
And, it's doing what it needs to do.
Cool. Do you have anything else you want to share?
No, I probably don't normally provide that much value, so I'm all out.
You're literally bone dry. You've squeezed everything out of that. Well done.
Nothing more.
Great. Well, thank you, Anchors, for listening. Please do subscribe if you found this interesting. Click subscribe wherever you are, and we will see you in your ears next week. Just before you go, we want to take a second to talk about our podcast sponsors, Adobe Express. Adobe Express enables anyone to quickly and easily create standout social graphics, logos, flyers, banners, and more on the web and mobile. There are so many amazing features and benefits to using Adobe Express. You can choose from thousands of beautifully designed templates to inspire you and get started. You can quickly remove a background, convert JPEG to PNG, videos to GIFs, merge videos, change video speeds, and more. Apply your brand to your content in just a tap and collaborate with your colleagues through shared templates and libraries. You'll also get access to the entire diverse, royalty-free Adobe stock photo collection created by the world's best professionals and choose from over 20,000 licensed Adobe fonts, as well as their collection of curved typesets, grids, and exquisite font pairings. You can apply standout photo effects in seconds, discover easy bite-sized tips to get you started on the Learn tab, or connect on one of their creator community spaces to stay close to our team and fellow users. Now that's a lot of features to get your teeth into. Click the link in the description of the episode to give Adobe Express a go today, and we'll see you next week.